Right. That's what I say to school districts because my primary work, I work a lot with school districts where, we've already been told in 5 years they're going to reduce the sugar by 10%. Right. So I'm like, why are you waiting? I mean, they're actually waiting on the companies to get ready. I'm saying you can get ready now. You can start making offerings now that align to that. Can you? And I'm advocating with my parents. I just had a client who has a 6-year-old that had never had their A1C done. And just from us working together, she got her son's A1C done, and he was right at the pre-diabetic range. And so now she's advocating. She's writing letters to the school like, my son can't participate in donuts with dads. I'm not coming to moms and muffins anymore. What alternatives do you have so that my son is included? Right. And so those are the type of things that we want to start to change at its core so that everything is not surrounded around eating and then eating poorly, in the name of a treat.
Yeah.
And so
Good
it's a
point.
great idea to bring dads and moms together to the school, but why does it have to be connected to, sugar, basically?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so that's one of the things that I get excited about is as we continue to do this advocating, the idea of it trickling down into families to make a difference where parents don't feel like, oh, I got time. He's just a little kid. I did the same thing. No, we can start to change the trajectory now.
Especially when you're talking those numbers, like 10% is not like 50%. We're not slashing it by half. 10%, you could do that today easily. You might not even miss it at all. Like you could at least start down that path. So again, I love
Yep.
your work and I love you're getting that message out there. And now, yeah, let's go back and hear your story, how you kind of got wrapped up in poor health yourself, and how you were able to figure out some of this stuff. So how you were able to figure this out yourself and get, like we said, the knowledge about proper education.
Absolutely. So for me, of course, little nuances were happening to me. I would have dandruff, little eczema in my skin, darkness around my neck, really not thinking much about it. I was a walker, so I blamed, my foot pain on walking all the time. I needed another kind of shoe, only to find out that it was plantar fasciitis. Suffered with a little gout. I took red meat out, took seafood out, still had gout, and ultimately was diagnosed as pre-diabetic, but not even in that terminology, right? It was just like you're not diabetic, you're like borderline. And the doctor was like, you got a little touch of sugar and you need to watch it. So then I went through the whole high cholesterol, and so when I learned that I had high cholesterol and it was so closely tied to what I thought at that time heart disease or something happening to your heart. I changed everything. I went to being vegetarian, I was vegan. I tell people I was a fancy nut eater. I didn't want mixed nuts. I wanted all my nuts separated. So I had a jar for every kind of nut. I was a honey nut Cheerio buyer with my almond milk because I was going to be healthy and I was getting bigger and bigger. I was in a lot of pain and didn't understand my pain sources. And so I started to dive in. I ultimately ended up having like a shoulder surgery for a rotator cuff that I thought was some tear, only to learn that it too was inflammation. I was told that my neck was degenerative. It was just all these things. The main thing that started to really kind of change the course for me is I was diagnosed with autoimmune lupus. And the lupus diagnosis was a huge wake up call. All the other things was like, girl, you just need to lose some weight, right? You need to change what you're eating. But the lupus diagnosis was huge because I had just lost a really close family member that had the same diagnosis. And so it was eye opening for me to get for real about what was happening in my body. And so I went down a rabbit hole trying to figure it out. And I first came upon, nightshade vegetables, understanding what nightshades were. So I was pulling out all the nightshades. I still wasn't losing weight. I still was trying to be vegetarian, although I was taking out nightshades. And I still wasn't getting well. And then I learned about keto. And so I give a shout out to Wendy Featherston, Black Girls Keto too. She had a conference. It's been several years now since I've gone to the conference, but I learned a lot with her under that umbrella. And really, what I was learning then was how to do some switching. Like, if you wanted, rather than eating a sweet potato, perhaps you want to try like a butternut squash. If you want to, not eat rice, maybe try cauliflower rice. Maybe you can make pizza crust this way. So that was a huge up for me to learn that it wasn't as harsh on my body, but I still wasn't getting the healing that I wanted. And so with the lupus diagnosis and taking out the nightshades, in 2021, I did a course with Dr. Westman. He had his first Keto Made Simple course. And I dived in, and the light bulbs really began to come on for me about what was really happening in my body. And so I was making these changes in my food, and I was very keto, right? And so if it had keto on it, I was keto. I didn't have a deep understanding. I learned who Maria Emmerich was, and that changed the game for me altogether. Her and Craig, what I call them is the clean keto people, right? So then I started really understanding inflammation and really what was keeping me sick. What was, because I had switched to like eating Rebel ice cream. Like, I would drive an hour to go buy Rebel ice cream because it's keto, it's great for you, not really understanding the ingredients in it that still may have an impact on you. Net
Yeah.
carbs driving me crazy, right? So once I really understood inflammation and I started eating cleaner, then I started seeing better results. But for me, it still wasn't the it's like I was doing it. It still felt like a diet to me. It felt like I'm only doing this for a little while. And I would have these crashes because I'm also a sugar addict. So I would have these crashes where I would say, "Oh, I've been good for 3 weeks. I deserve a treat." And then I would run to the cookie store and binge, right? I'm a cake eater. I tell people I don't care who birthday it was. If I found out it was your birthday and you didn't have a cake, I was gonna make sure you had a cake. I was gonna run somewhere, pick up you a cake, a sheet cake, and have all four corners on it because that's where the most icing was. That's
Good
me
call.
with sugar, right? So what I ultimately needed to know, my mother calls me nosy. I know now that I'm curious. And so my curiosity just would not rest. And this is how I started getting involved with Society of Metabolic Health. Dr. Berry, actually, I went to Tennessee. I don't know if you know Amanda Decker. Um,
Of course, she's amazing.
yeah, so Amanda was having her first $10 event that was about 2.5 hours from my house. And so my husband and I drove there, sat in the gym. Dr. Berry was there, and she had these letters on her name that said MHP. I sat there. I didn't have AI at this time. I said, "What does this stand for? Mental health." So here I go up there to ask her. She told me about the metabolic health practitioner, and I literally came home that Monday and called Doug Reeves on the phone. I didn't know I was getting Doug because I didn't know who Doug was, but I was like, I'm going to San Diego. And that's how it all started evolving for me. And being there, and there is really my favorite place to go of all the things that I've done in this arena. The Metabolic Health Practitioner Summit is my favorite thing to do because it's so sciencey, because I'm a nerd, right? So just getting that firsthand information, I came home and everything changed.
Wow.
All the keto stuff went out the door. I'm like, no, this is why we sick, and this is this. I ended up getting a certification under Maria Emmerich and her husband as a keto and carnivore coach. And man, like, that's been my journey, is just go be nosy. I've hung out with Dr. Berry at his summit, Dr. Hampton, I have him on replay. So I just went deep with the learning, and I'm just not the same person as you said earlier. And we agree that I can't unknow it. So even when there's a Snicker bar in front of me, I just know too much to eat a Snicker bar, right? Like, it's like, it sound good, but I already know what it's gonna do to my body. So
Yeah. It's not worth it. Like it tastes good in the moment, but it just is not worth it. I'm a sugar addict as well. And
Yeah.
I can't stop. I don't stop myself. I know when I should and I don't, and I pay the price, and it's just less and less times, worth it to go off my carnivore diet. So I really appreciate that. What an amazing journey that you've had. And yeah, Doug does such an amazing job putting on those conferences, and San Diego's one of my favorites as well. I sign up for it as soon as I'm able to the year before so that I know I've got a spot and I'll be there. So I would encourage anybody to go check those out.